Camera lights, cue.
It's World Television Day, a day to celebrate the importance and impact of this dominant media channel to our lives.
The television is a symbol for communication and globalization, used to inform, educate, entertain, and one way or the other, and influences the way we think and decisions we take.
All right, let's give you a little history on how the television has evolved since invention. Now, after its formal introduction at the 1939 World's Fair, real commercial televisions became widely available, but some major American TV networks had started broadcasting before then.
One of the most recognized images from this early era includes the 1936 Olympics from Berlin, in which Hitler announced the opening of the ceremonies. Often, the 1950s have been seen as the heyday of the economical boom and the golden age of television.
The Vietnam War is the first conflict to be televised. Now, by the end of the 60s, there were approximately 200 million television sets around the world. The first direct-to-broadcast satellite television was launched in 1972. 1978 was the last year large black and white consoles were manufactured. I actually still have one in my village.
Yeah, you know, it feels good when you travel home and then you see those televisions with doors and all of that. Now, the 80s saw a little innovation with the television specifically. However, they became a growing number of television accessories like the video cassette recorder, the VCR. Although cable had been around since the 1950s, but cable television saw a significant boom during the 80s.
And the 90s saw big changes in technology altogether. One can arguably say the 1990s were an age of technological change, thanks largely to the internet. Now, cable television programming saw a large boom at the end of the decade. The 2000s saw television go digital and online as well. Now, this has led to many networks making their programs available online.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay, and we're being joined now by Tokunbo Ojekunle, the Oga at the top, Radio Continental.
The general manager at Radio
general
Continental.
Manager, as a matter
It's
of
nice to
fact.
have you join us right now.
Thank you.
And happy Television Day.
Thank you. Good morning.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning. Brilliant. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Okay, and also joining us, well, we're expecting to have a public affairs analyst, Agba Jalingo, who will be joining us. Mr. Ojekunle, what do you think about this whole setting aside a day to actually mark or celebrate the television?
Interesting thing. The very first time this idea was mooted at the United Nations, Germany was against it, along about 11 other countries. And their grouse was that, why you have a telecommunication day, you have it whatever day, media
Press
day, press day, and all. Why are television? You know, but gradually, in fact, the argument was that it wasn't very popular. It was very expensive, and it was in between, just about probably 80,000 then they said had it in history parlance. But going back, when you come back now to what we have, it's a different kettle of fish. Eventually, United Nations had its way and they did it. And I think it's very symbolic. It is symbolic because everything that you invite into your sitting room, your homes, you're inviting into your mind. You're inviting it into your psyche, you know, and when you have TV in the room, is a foreign culture in. You have a foreign body at home, and that foreign body must be speaking the language that everybody should understand and speaking it rightly. And so, for me, I think with the TV industry and advancement has come a very long way. Just as your report said, which was quite detailed, by the way, I must commend, it took me back to exactly when and how these things came about. The advancement of the 90s, the bloated advancement of the 90s brought TV in a different style. Today, I'm sitting down watching on my laptop. There are things I can do with it, and it's getting more interesting by the day. But as you rightly said and observed, impacts would come. Impacts in education, advancement, cultural infusions, and so on, language, slangs, and ideas, because when you see pictures, it tells better than radio, more tasking on radio. So you have all that you already know. Pictures and words speak the same language of you being there, whereas you've not been there.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right. You know, they talk about the fact that the world is now a global village.
Yep.
In fact, someone said it's no longer a village, it's now a global bedroom where everything is, you know. But what role has the television played in making the world really a global village over the years?
I think the mystery about the television is that something is taking your attention, and it's just a small tiny box. Just a small tiny box. I'll take you back to when you said you still have your black and white in the village.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, my growing up days, we didn't have a television. Only few houses had down the line. The row of about 50, 60 houses, only 2 would have. So in the evening, that's when the TV comes up. Everybody rushes to the window of the houses that have it, and you are all glued there.
Like you're going to the cinema.
You're going to the
something.
cinema, and that's quite nostalgic to me. And what it has turned to be over the time, it has become a medium of enlightenment, a fun thing, something you want to see and look at. In the 60s into 70s, when TV became very prominent in a house setting, we used to have the theater groups perform. Hubert Ogunde, we used to have it. It was a moving theater group, and we would all go to watch it. So the first time that the WNBN TV, that's by the way, first in Africa television in
1959,
Nigeria, when it came up, they used that as an opportunity to move into the homes and brought different drama groups on television. It was interesting because they were all planks knocked together. Everything was just as small as tiny, and you have sets being changed. As a matter of fact, I remember one episode of a drama series I was watching, and while the thing was going on live, somebody walked across the camera. And I think it was Baba Salah's show, and he called the man, where are you going? You know, brought him into
exactly.
Let's just put you on hold there, because we have to take a commercial break very quickly, and we'll come back. Of course, we have the Deputy Director of News Television Continental, Tunde Osho.
Yeah, joining us from the United
He'll be
States.
joining us from the US. Stay with us.
Right, thanks for joining us. You're watching TVC Breakfast. On this segment, we are discussing World Television Day. And certainly we have in the studio the General Manager of Radio Continental, Tokunbo Jekunle. He's here with us. He has been one person who has been there, being on TV, being on radio, and understands the business of it and how it all plays out. And we have joining us right now the Deputy Director News Television Continental, Tunde Osho, is joining us from London on phone. Mr. Osho, good morning. It's good to have you on right now. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, we are fine. Well, let me say Happy Television Day to you first.
Same to you. Same to Mr. Jekunle as well.
All right.
And to Ngozi.
Yeah,
Yes,
Ngozi.
yes.
Now, you have broadcasted, or you have broadcast in, you've been involved in broadcasting in the US and in Africa. When it comes to seeing the two worlds, comparing the two worlds, how impactful has all that been on the African continent differently, if we have to narrow it down here?
Well, I think that Africa has done really, really well over the years. You will remember that even Nigeria had television, color television, before many European countries. So, I mean, we have come a long way. And still, when you look at broadcasting in Nigeria on television, you can compare favorably with many television networks around the world. They've come a long way, and there's a lot of effort put in by Nigerians to improve the industry, to make sure that they catch up with the rest of the world. There are some countries who will go abroad that are not even close to what Nigeria is doing. So we're doing very well.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Mr. Osho, let me come in here. Now, the positive sides of the television, whether it has to do with fostering peace and stability, you know, all over the world, getting people informed, and then the issue of globalization. The same, you know, reasons that we say that the television is a good thing are the same reasons we're saying television is actually a bad thing, because it's subsuming people's cultures and their own ways of life and all of that. As far as globalization is concerned, do you think television has done a good job?
I think it has. I don't think we can blame television for some of these things. For instance, if you went to a market, you will have tomatoes, you have onions, you have all kinds of stuff in the market. And you pick what you need, and you go home, you make your meal. Same thing with television. There are so many areas in television that we don't need to pick. People have the ability to choose what they want to watch on television. But television has been a very good weapon against so many ills in society by bringing in a lot of information, a lot of public service announcements, a lot of shows that would actually tell you how to do certain things. There are many people who got educated on television. There are television schools, and when I say that, I don't mean going to school to learn television, but to actually get an education on TV. So there are so many good things about television, but there are also so many bad things that we don't need, but people don't have to watch those things. We have the ability to pick what will benefit us on television.
True.
All right. We have joining us right. Thank you, Mr. Osho. We'll still come back to you shortly after this. We have joining us right, Agba Jalingo, a public affairs analyst. It's good to have you join us. Welcome.
It's amazing.
And happy World Television Day.
Yeah, amazing. It's
Maybe
beautiful.
we should be asking you what television has done for you as an individual.
Oh, for me. Okay, it has made me the Agba Jalingo that people. The Agba Jalingo brand, particularly my Nigerian flag.
You know?
Most people see me with this on the road. They're like, "Oh, Agba Jalingo, that's your flag." It's becoming a brand, really.
That's nice.
I'm very proud of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, now you have been, you've been involved with youth mobilization and all of that. Now, how has television really impacted or given you effect in that line, in your ability to mobilize youth in the Niger Delta and so on?
Well, continuing in the answer I gave you earlier on. For instance, I've always known that I had a message for young people, and I knew that all I needed was space to share that message. But with all sense of modesty, if it has to do with issues of development and young people, you dare not let me talk to you, because if I do, you will follow. And television made it possible. Television made it possible. The message went further, and it helped a lot in mobilization. It was one of the most effective tools that we used, and all thanks to television.
But when it comes to the followership,
Yeah.
if you really take the demographics amongst youth, do you think they are following TV for the right reasons?
Well, you see, like every other thing in this world, people have their reasons why they follow anything, including television. Even if you are watching a particular station or a program like we are watching now, 10 people are watching, they all have their different reasons why they are watching. And for everything that you pick from the television, if it's good for you to embolden and make the society better, good for all of us. But what we will say is that it's not really the fault of those that are watching. It is the fault of those who are providing the content. The burden should actually be on those who are providing the content, to be sure that whatever you are putting out there for the public is something that will make the society better. Because the viewer will not come and put anything on television. It is those that are providing the content that will provide what the viewer will absorb, consume, and possibly form his habits.
But we have those who put content out there because they want to make money.
So
it doesn't matter. So as far as they make money from the content, that's it.
You are very correct, and that is why that is what society should regulate. That's what society should make all efforts to regulate, even though the dynamics are changing. Because these days we are having online televisions, and even the professionals, the technology experts are telling us that in another decade, we may not even need the long masts and the transmitters to do all of them. We only need a SIM card. And then every time they can hurry. If you go online now, there are so many online TVs. We have one, Crossover Watch TV and all of that, where you no longer have the line editors like we used to have. I'm saying the textbooks will have to change, the curriculums will have to change, because in the next decade and 2 others, the dynamics of television will change completely. And almost every citizen could become a producer, director, everything right from his home and from the
Isn't that happening already, Ms. Ojekunle? Now, how do you, strike a balance between what the television is supposed to do, ideally, and what it is doing, to a large extent? And has the TV really come to stay?
TV has come to stay. I must frighten you like that. It has come to stay. The other frightening thing is what Agba just mentioned, and people have been thinking about it. Now it's going to be available everywhere, to everybody, to every animal, to every jungle, everywhere. And then you can use it as a potent medium to either impress the people or confuse the people. You have the ability to stay in your room and create a very strong 5-minuter that will either kick for government or kick against government. And that portends the danger in it. It is going to get to that stage and beyond. There's nothing we can do about it. Content providers, however, know the basic rules. What are the basic rules? You bring out things, products for entertainment, for education, for information, and then for culture orientation. Culture orientation is key. At the point TV started way back, the first thing that really impacted us were the foreign films. The way these guys were dressing, the way they were speaking, the slangs they were saying. Before you knew what was happening, all the schools started. People started dressing like James Brown. People started dressing like Michael Jackson. They saw these things and started talking. That's the impact. Cultural impact is strong. But I will not be too far away from what Tunde Osho said earlier, that look, it's a marketplace. You come in,
you decide what you
want and go, which of course shows a huge risk.
But what about the subtleness, the subtle attempt to force your own culture, your own way of life, because that cultural aspect is very vital. You know, that attempt through globalization to influence, you know.
Okay, I'm going to answer that without really asking a question, but almost, the fact is this. Look, he is from Akwa Ibom and decides to run a 30-minuter every once a week. And what he does is shows the cultural values embedded in Calabar. Okay, and he does it his own style. Now there are some parts of the body that could be exposed. Example, which don't let get too graphic, but it is still well covered up. Now you are showing that kind of take, and it is being projected to another part of the country. Okay, it's being projected to another part of the country where you can have a lot of people watch and yet not agree with everything they are seeing, because they think, why? I can't do this, I can't do that. Why should they be showing this? Whereas the man is just doing his job. You know, TV makes us document history, historical fact. Look, there is no serious documentation in the whole wide world that has succeeded without the input of the television. I don't know. It depends on what Nigerian producers have done over the years. We cannot find historical tapes anymore. I will frighten you. Even at a point we were looking for the old tapes of Village Headmaster. We couldn't get them. Now, that's what is different from our climb and the other climb that Mr. Osho is talking about. We know that, we know the impact of television. We know its history. We know it also documents things for us and helps us. We do not bank these things properly.
And that's really sad.
And that is quite sad. It means that we have just wasted those years of massive document writing. People they're good. Script writers in this country, I doff my hat for them. You only need to read the script and fall in love. They are so good. Do you want to talk about the Kelanis of this world? You know, and the way they interpret culture, language, education into very subtle playlets, and you get the impact of it. I think TV has come to stay. Nothing we can do about it, and we'll go from there.
All right, let's go on a break, and we'll come back to dwell more on this. And don't forget that right now we'll be going out on TVC Entertainment, and viewers there can continue with the program on TVC Nigeria, on Concert Channel 190 and DSTV Channel 418.
You can also continue to enjoy the show on GoTV 45 and ACTV 510. There's more to come. Stay with us.
All right, I must say it's really very interesting in the studio when the cameras are off.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, let's shed some more light for you before we go to Mr. Osho there. Now, digitization is the current trend in broadcasting. Digital migration is the transition from analog TV to digital terrestrial television broadcasting, which countries around the world are expected to adopt?
Now, it has to do with the transmission of digital television signal over the earth from mass to home receivers. Digitization has numerous benefits. It will ensure clearer picture quality. Various programs can be aired simultaneously on one station. Under this technology, the TV set would have access to the internet.
And the International Telecommunications Union, ITU, set a June 17, 2015 deadline for a total switchover of all broadcast channels from analog to digital around the world. Well, some African countries really have not met that date. Now, the implication is that analog signals from Nigerian broadcasting stations would receive no protection in the event of interference with or from digital signals from neighboring countries.
Nigeria, through the National Broadcasting Commission, initially set June 17, 2012 as its switchover date. Now, 3 years earlier than ITU's deadline, I must say. But Nigeria has missed the digital switchover deadline twice, first in June 2012 and later in June 2015, mainly because of inadequate funds. But Nigeria requested for an extension by the ITU. Now, eyes are now on June the 17th, 2017 for Nigeria to transit from analog to digital broadcasting. But certainly we must say that a pilot migration was carried out in Jos, Plateau State in April using special set-top boxes to provide free digital signals of 15 broadcast stations.
But in Nigeria, or is Nigeria really prepared for the transmission of digital broadcasting? Very good question that I should direct to Tunde Osho there in London. What do you think? Is Nigeria ready or not?
Well, I think a great effort is underway to make sure that we are ready. We've missed a date before, so I think there's a great effort to make sure we don't miss the 2017 date. And right now I'm optimistic that we'll make it. I know that it's not an easy thing, especially for a country like Nigeria. It takes a lot of engineering work and preparations to make sure that everybody in the country is switched over to this new digital system. It takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of manpower, a lot of effort, but I think that we are on our way, and I believe that we'll make it.
All right. I know Nigeria has missed this deadline twice, and now things are more compounded when you talk about recession now, because everything seems to have been feeling the impact or feeling the effect of recession. 2017 is just here, and economists have said that Nigeria, it will take about 2 years or so before Nigeria really gets out of the economic situation we find ourselves now. If we see from the window of funds and finance, will Nigeria really meet up, apart from the passion and the readiness to do that?
Yeah.
Well, I think right now, there's a pilot program going on, I think in Jos, in Plateau State, and it seems to be going well. The only area that I see that may create a lot of problems is for everyone in Nigeria to acquire the new set, the digital ready system that they would have to set up in their homes. It's like telling someone who is going out to buy a television set now, you can't buy what you used to have. You have to buy the new digital ready system, and getting the money to buy the system is what I think you're talking about, for the individuals. But I will tell you that in many of these countries that have already gone digital, like the U.S., for instance, the government had to help the citizens to get the system. They had to give them some kind of amount to be able to afford to buy the system. And that made the switchover pretty easy. But in the Nigerian system now, with the current economic climate, we will have to wait and see how the government wants to handle that, because people's economy is not doing too well, and the government's economy is not doing too well either. So we will see. That is the only thing that may hold up, that may pose a problem to reaching that goal. the next year. But we'll see the kind of commitment the government will give to this to make sure it happens.
All right. Okay. Now, Jalingo, let's move away from the television for what it is, and let's even look at some of the roles it's expected to play, or it has played in our lives in the last half century or thereabout. The role of television in democracy, especially in Africa, in Nigeria. Talk to us about that.
Well, I think, I don't know how democracy would have succeeded anywhere in the world without the television, for instance. Yeah, today we have the internet, we can talk to ourselves in real time, but before the internet came, I really can't imagine. First of all, we give credit to the radio, and then of course we come to television. I cannot imagine. For instance, it was easy. I remember the story of the Max gunman. Somebody had to go into a news studio to say, okay, drop the news and take this one, like the story we hear. But today on television, if somebody is snatching a ballot box, we have the images. If somebody is shooting a gun somewhere, we have the images. It's easier to prove. People are more scared because somebody is going to see your face. So television has played a great role in developing and growing democracy around the world. Look at the interest that the whole world generated in the American election because of the images that we were getting from the international media and of course the local media. It was awesome. It was amazing how the whole world was glued to their televisions to follow, particularly debates. I remember staying awake all the 3 nights to watch those two candidates. That is the power of the television. Look, when they are playing football, look at it. The world today is united because of that small letter that
sometimes you have
22
as many
people
as 2 billion
are running after, and it is because of the power of the television. And today we are talking about multi-billion TV rights around the world, and all of that. That is the impact that television is making in our daily lives. I tell you, let me also tell you something. I was watching Multina Dance Hall lately, and no, not lately, some years ago, and two families, a husband and wife that had divorced for about 11 years.
Oh.
Because one of their child had to go and dance in Multina Dance Hall. The two of them had to come together to go dance in Multina Dance Hall, and they were able to reconcile after the competition. That is what TV did. Because they watch other families dancing. So the TV is reconciling families, the TV is creating money for people, TV is making brands all over the world. TV is helping to solve problems around the world. But at the same time, like somebody pointed out, TV is also helping to create a lot of problems. And even the most beautiful creation that God created, the human being, the word of God says, is the most wicked of all men. Who can sight the heart of a man? But that is the most beautiful creature that God created. Everything has just like two sides of a coin. But today, the challenge really, like we were saying before the cameras came back, is that the owners of television stations have allowed advertisers and promoters to determine what goes on air. Yeah, they bring all the millions of dollars and then they take over what the content is. And then the owners of the TV stations no longer, they have very little time to determine what actually goes on air, because you need to make the money, you need to balance the books, you need to break even. That is the challenge, and that is something that we really need to check. But as for the TV, it has come to stay. It is going to continue to impact our lives every day, either for good or for bad, depending on what the content is.
Okay, Tokunbo, let me come to you on this. Now, you were talking about culture earlier on. Now, there seems to be so much of content from the West, thereby eroding the African culture. You see young people these days, everyone wants to behave like Michael Jackson. They want to be the Hollywood movie stars. They want to be the musician and all of that. Now, going ahead, if we have to project, it looks like a lot of young people no longer even speak their languages back home. What impact will that have? We all become westernized in Africa, and then there's nothing about the Africanness that is here with us before.
You know, that's a very touching question for me. Yeah. And I usually feel sad answering questions like this, because we had opportunities to make the best of what television could offer, but we chose the wrong things in the marketplace. We felt we had the right to redesign or rediscover ourselves, our roots, which was faulty at the beginning. And I do not have enough countries in the few fingers to count, but I can tell you that there are so many countries who saw the dangers, aside from the positives, and saw the danger in this and locked up their country. They did it in such a way that you could call it gagging. But looking back at what they did today, right? Do you know some countries are just allowing their females to take part in pageants, beauty pageants? Over the years, you can imagine how long ago we started. Nigeria was honestly without a really serious cultural agenda. And if you look back to the ages time, we have been too much into politics. We have been too much into, you know, what power means to me, rather than thinking of the generality of the people. We have let so many things undone in this country that TV is now quadrupled in terms of advancement, and we are still a little bit backward. That issue of language you spoke about, culture you spoke about, will still continue for slightly some time to come. We do not, and I be careful about this, look at the Nollywood. Yes. Look at the Bollywood. We grew up watching Bollywood. Indian films were everywhere. I mean, look, all the cinemas had it. And then we would go, and it would come out, all the songs are here. If I start singing them, you'll be shocked. Thank you, Anthony, you know that. So all the songs are in my head, right? And I can go over. But I would have honestly wished that we could have used that channel of getting to the people to bring culture fusion into our people, into the minds of the people. We had the likes of Professor Akinyuba in those days. Ekweme, is it, what's it, I keep forgetting the professor's name. A strong professor, a musicologist, okay? They all brought culture into it, and we did not follow that trend.
So that deliberateness is what is missing.
It is missing.
Strategic thinking.
We're having an agenda.
We don't have the agenda. Even if we say we have it on paper, it's not there.
Okay, let's go on a break, and then we come back to round off on this. Stay with us right now. We'll go on a break.
All right, you're welcome back. It's TVC Breakfast. We're looking at the World Television Day and the role it has had in all of our lives. Tunde Osho, Deputy Director News, is with us right there in London. Now, let's look at broadcast media and, you know, the neutral position it's supposed to have. Is Mr. Osho still there? Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, very good. Now, you know, what happened in the U.S. elections seems to have thrown up another angle, you know, of what's that word again? That neutral position that the broadcast media should actually, you know, have. That seems not to be the case. And what do you think will happen now that we're seeing a Donald Trump, President-elect of the United States, not carrying the media or the press along in his program so far? I mean, in the visit of the Japanese president, you know, Shinzo Abe, there was no U.S. media allowed to cover that. What does this portend?
Well, it's a scary development. It's something the American media are not actually familiar with. They're not used to that kind of thing. And it's setting us back, you know, in the Stone Age. And it's making it seem as if it's like a dictator kind of situation where, you know, I just want to tell you what to do. You can't cover what I don't want you to see. I'm just going to write off the New York Times. I'm going to block the MSNBC, or I'm going to unregister the Washington Post. It's a very sad development, but I'm sure that no matter how he tries, the American media would still be able to cover him. And, you know, the American Constitution guarantees the freedom of the press. So I'm not too worried, but it's of great concern that in this age we will have a president-elect that would take that kind of stand against the media.
And Tokunbo, I actually asked that question because of the history, you know, and documentation that the television is meant to preserve.
Yes, I believe that, just as Tunde has said, it's very scary. And I feel back, I go back to the military era in our days. I'm beginning to see a bit of that, gagging and all that in the US. But you see, the error has been made. Allowing television to get this wide and mighty, you can't hide anything anymore. you cannot keep hide. You just can't hide anything.
The genie is out of the bottle.
The genie is out of the bottle. So no matter how hard you try, you're still going to be faced by all this, you know, the stumbling blocks. And I think it redefines going further. It redefines what democracy really means. We are getting to that part now. That America, you've always known to fight for democracy, to tell you we are the leaders when it comes to all that. And the last few weeks or months, you begin to see something else. Sit down, watch for another 12 months, then you see the need for democracy itself as a word to be redefined in another context. I'm waiting for that new adventure. I am waiting for that new adventure.
That's a new picture
I'm
there.
waiting for another new
Now,
adventure.
even though we don't have all the time right now, I know you would like to comment on that, but let me ask you this last question before we round off. I've had questions from so many young people who say that with the coming upstream of social media, that conventional media, TV like the way we watch it, is going to be wiped out. But in my view, maybe this is meant to be a complementary effort between the both, but is the social media and conventional media on coalition course?
Obviously, they're on coalition course, and eventually one will have to give way for the other. It's a hard truth. Yes.
But Tokunbo doesn't think TV is going anywhere.
Yeah, the argument will continue. TV will continue, but it's not going to be in the form we're seeing it.
Okay, it's going to evolve.
Yeah, it's going to evolve. It's not going to be in the form. It's just like letter writing an email.
Yes.
Nobody, if you go to the post offices, you're still going to find a 15 stamp. You still write your letter. If you still prefer, I am very happy to write this letter. Go there and you post it and somebody will deliver it, as a matter of fact. But the SMS and the email has actually made that obsolete. That's exactly where we are headed. Yeah, and no matter how hard we try to hold on to it, the truth is that somehow it's going to become like letter writing after some years. That's where we are headed. And but I will not forget to say this, that away from that idea of neutrality, that's why I said the textbooks, the curriculums are going to have to change. In the days of yore, we were taught that it's only in editorials that we can take positions as media houses. But today, we see media houses coming out wholesale to adopt candidates for elections based on their own values and cultures over the years, over decades, over centuries. They are coming out to adopt candidates based on what they believe in. And I think that the freedom of the press inculcates that. And very soon we should begin to tell journalism students that in the classroom. The idea of neutrality is a facade. No matter how we try to prove to be neutral,
but
at the end of the day, there is a place where we stand.
You have the media, you know, getting into being caught between the lines of politics and all the rest of them.
Who runs the media?
Well, human beings.
Who runs the
They are
media?
human beings. They are individuals.
Yes, as an institution.
People have interest.
That should even take us back to the
institution.
issue of cultural domination that Tokes was talking about.
Yeah.
That the more you promote your culture, the more you promote your ideology, the more domination you have, the more market you have, for instance. Hip hop is going, he's talking about Indian film. They were selling like hell some time ago because they had conquered a particular space. They need to push it from TV, push it so that they come. Everybody's speaking words up, even on our television. Go to our TV schools, radio schools, training schools. They teach you diction, how to speak like the white man on TVC, on Galaxy, on local television stations. That's what they do because they want to promote their market. And the more they promote their market, the more their products will sell. It should be in the reverse. How do we begin to push this back to them from our local television? Like what we are seeing from China, like what we are seeing from India. That's what we should refocus.
And in the area of movie, we see Nollywood taking its place now, selling the African culture and so on. Taking its
Even though
space.
we fail to appreciate it, but you see some people over there who die because of
Tunde
this.
Osho, do you want to have the last say? Oh, unfortunately,
all right.
you know, I mean, the question you posed there, how can we now consciously use television to project ourselves, to project who we are as Nigerians, as Africans?
I think we have a lot of things to do in that regard. It's now behoves on each organization. Let me use organizations first. Your house style, your codes, for example, has to be very sincere. What you're looking for has to be very pungent. And I also called on advertisers at this moment, the advertising industry at this moment, that they should begin to look at what will help Nigeria grow, what will help us tell ourselves to the external world. They should begin to say, look, we will put money down, go and investigate this story, do that and do this. What we see these days is, with respect to all the producers who put their heads together to do content, they do not have the weight of what can change the country or move advertising or television forward. Let us take them back to the schools. A lot of people still need to learn how these things are done, okay? And it's so open in the market. By the way, I'll shock you. Not you reading mass communication or all that to get you a job on television.
No.
I think you know. Because you now have a lot of science graduates doing what you think you can do. So the wider the market it is tells you something is getting loose about television and no rigidity. But we must get it right this time around.
All right,
That's
so
why platforms like Sarah Reporters, Premium Times are actually getting the audience they're getting because they do what TV is failing to do.
All right.
Okay. You know what, Mike, before we say thanks to our guys here, let me just throw out a quote there. It says, if television is a babysitter, then the internet is a drunk librarian who won't just shut up.
The Lord is good.
I thought I should throw that one in.
It's all right. Tokunbo Jakule, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you so
Agba
much.
Jalingo, thank you for joining us. And we thank Tunde
Osho
Osho for joining us earlier on phone from London. Thank you very much. And happy World Television Day to everyone watching TV right now.